In the cold early hours of November 22nd, 1990, the Scottish fishing trawler Antares sailed quietly through the dark waters of the Firth of Clyde. The crew of 4 men, experienced fishermen from the small village of Carradale, were following their familiar routine, casting their nets deep into the Arran Trench, one of Scotland's richest fishing grounds. It was a night like many others. Calm seas, no storm, no warning. But beneath the surface, another vessel was moving through the same waters. One unseen, one unheard. It was the Royal Navy submarine HMS Trenchant, a nuclear-powered hunter-killer submarine on a training exercise known as the Perisher, the grueling submarine command course used to train the Navy's future commanders. The Clyde, a hub for Britain's undersea fleet, was also a dangerous overlap of 2 worlds, the fishermen's and the submariners. And on this night, those worlds would collide. The Antares was a small, sturdy wooden trawler, about 17 meters long, built in 1965, well-maintained and crewed by skilled men. Her nets were deployed in mid-water, suspended by steel warps stretching far behind her hull. Each line connected to heavy otter boards that kept the trawl open. For the fishermen, the hum of the winch and the steady roll of the sea were the sounds of livelihood. They couldn't have known that hundreds of meters away, a nuclear submarine was silently slicing through the same channel. Trenchant had left Faslane Naval Base a week earlier. Her mission that night was to evade a surface frigate, HMS Charybdis, as part of the exercise. She was operating at a depth of about 60 meters, deep enough to hide but shallow enough to use her periscope and sonar. Inside, the command team monitored a cluster of sonar contacts on their screens: ships, trawlers, and the escort vessel above. But the Clyde is a noisy place. Propellers, winches, and echoing seabed layers can confuse even the best sonar operators. At around 2 o'clock in the morning, Trenchant's sonar picked up several faint sounds, likely fishing vessels. The officer in command adjusted course slightly to avoid them. Moments later, there was a loud metallic crash that reverberated through the submarine's hull. The control room fell silent. The crew had no visual, but everyone knew something had gone wrong. The sonar operators reported the unmistakable sound of a trawl net snagging on the submarine. Orders were shouted: "Stop engines, reverse, check for damage." But seconds later, the noise stopped. They assumed the contact had been minor. What the submarine's crew didn't know was that on the surface, the Antares was fighting for her life. When Trenchant's hull caught the trawler's starboard warp, the immense power of the submarine yanked the smaller vessel backwards with terrifying force. The trawler's deck tilted violently, gear tore loose. The hull capsized and sank within seconds. The 4 men aboard never had a chance to send a distress signal. In the darkness and silence, Antares vanished beneath the waves. Back inside Trenchant, the crew rose to periscope depth. The officer scanned the surface and saw 2 fishing boats nearby. Heroine and Hercules, 3, still operating normally. There was no sign of distress, no debris, no flares. Believing they had only brushed some gear, the command team decided to continue their exercise. They reported a minor net entanglement and resumed training. Below them, the wreck of Antares lay quietly on the seabed. By dawn, fishermen ashore realized something was wrong. Antares had not returned to port, and radio calls went unanswered. As word spread, a search operation began. Helicopters, lifeboats, and fellow trawlers scoured the area. Hours later, searchers spotted floating fish boxes and a slick of fuel, signs of a wreck. The Antares was found lying on her side in over 100 meters of water. When divers reached her, they confirmed the worst. All 4 crewmen were dead. An investigation began immediately. The Royal Navy at first denied that a submarine had been in the area, but mounting evidence forced an admission. HMS Trenchant had indeed been operating there. The Marine Accident Investigation Branch and a Scottish Fatal Accident Inquiry reconstructed the events with painstaking detail. They determined that the submarine's periscope maneuver had dragged the trawler's nets into its hull, capsizing the vessel in seconds. The inquiry concluded that Trenchant's command team had failed in their watchkeeping duties and misjudged the danger to the fishing boats nearby. The submarine's crew had not realized the Antares was missing until it was too late. The technical analysis revealed how quickly it all happened. When the submarine's sail caught the trawl warp, the steel line snapped tight, pulling Antares backwards and over. The heavy trawl chain became wedged in the submarine's sonar dome, embedding itself in the acrylic casing before breaking free. Once inverted, the trawler flooded instantly. Her life raft tied down too tightly, never released. No one escaped. The findings were devastating. The investigators blamed a failure of awareness and communication aboard Trenchant. The command team had misinterpreted sonar data, ignored radio silence from nearby trawlers, and failed to verify that all vessels were safe before submerging again. There was no fault found with Antares or her crew. They were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, following the law and doing their work. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the fishing communities of Western Scotland. In Parliament, ministers expressed deep regret and promised change. The Navy immediately reviewed its training procedures. New safety measures were introduced: a mandatory 3,000-yard separation zone between submarines and fishing vessels, updated communication protocols, and improved liaison systems between the Navy and the fishing industry. Submariners were retrained to better identify and track surface vessels in busy waters. For the first time, the Navy publicly acknowledged the risk that its silent fleet posed to fishermen. But for the families of the 4 men lost aboard Antares, skipper Jamie Russell, Billy Martindale, Dougal John Campbell, and Stuart Campbell, those reforms came too late. Their loss became a permanent reminder of the hidden dangers that exist where human industries overlap. The unseen machinery of war meeting the fragile livelihood of those who work the sea. In Carradale, a memorial stands to the Antares crew. It faces the same waters where they spent their lives. The inscription is simple, but it says everything. In memory of those who go down to the sea in ships, and of those who do not return.
If you enjoyed the story, don't you forget to subscribe.